everyone, Ronnie Petito with Petito's Performance Training Center, and today I'm here to talk to you about the difference between resistance bands and weights, and according to muscle growth. So let's just talk about muscle growth real quick. I got a little timeline here, and how muscle growth starts really is, first you start out as, let's just say you're a newbie to the gym. Nothing going on, you never worked out before. When you go to the gym, the first 2 weeks to even 3 weeks to maybe even a month, it's going to be about newbie gains. Now, what I mean by newbie gains is that anything appreciable, you're probably not going to see any difference in your physical appearance, but anything you're feeling as far as like, oh, I'm jumping up, 10, 15 pounds, no problem, in some of my lifts and things like that, that's usual. Your muscles are finally getting used to working out again. They're like, oh. Or if you haven't worked out before, they're like, oh, okay, we're trying to move something. We're getting some resistance finally after a long time. So those muscles are going to adapt within 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4, depends on who you are. And in 2 to 4 weeks, your muscle growth is going to stop if you don't start progressively overloading. So that's the next step. You have to progressively overload the muscles, and once you've done that, once you start building up the muscles, progressively overloading them, you're going to have to start providing some new stimulus. And that leads to muscle growth. Exactly what we're looking for, right? Now, I'm getting a lot of questions while we're talking about bands versus weights. I'm getting a lot of questions about, or I've seen a lot, and I've had a lot of questions about resistance bands. Are they good for me? Should I lift weights? Should I do the bands? And a lot of different questions going around it saying, oh, you're not going to be able to build anything with bands, or is it even worth it to use them? Well, of course it is. It is a workout. Like I said before about the newbie gains, when you first start out, you might not be able to control certain lifts with your weights. What if I have a shoulder raise, a lateral shoulder raise, and I can't even do 5 pounds with it? Well, that ain't going to help me too much. Or what if I'm curling, I'm not used to controlling that curl or being able to target that muscle correctly, we're not going to be able to get the best out of it. But if we're using bands, we have no choice but to activate that muscle. So bands are a little bit different. So let's check out what we know about both of them. So bands, let's say they're good for, and when you think about them, you're thinking PT, physical therapy, right? Physical therapy, rehab, newbies, like we were talking about, newbies, elderly. Now, why am I naming all these little groups? Well, because it's actually, the bands, as I said before, are easy to control. The weights, not so much. So if you have a control issue, you need some injuries, hurt, and you can only put so much force on it, bands are going to allow you to just put that force on it and make sure that nothing is going to happen to you. So it's not a bad idea to use that in these situations. Now, I'm going to put this down here because it makes sense. We'll come back to it. But bands, even though they're good for some workouts, are not good for others. So I'm going to put that down here. Good for some, not others. We'll get to that in a minute. But now we're going to move on to the weights. The weights are good for muscle growth. I'll just say growth. Muscle growth, power, strength, all the above, of course, But the thing is that lifting weights, as I said, harder, proper form, and I'm drawing stars around it because it's a must. In order to get the most out of your workout, you need to have proper form with your weights. You need to be able to control, if I'm doing a bicep curl, I need to be able to control this muscle all the way down through the eccentric force of the motion in order to produce the most stimulus for it to grow. Whereas if I had a resistance band, it's doing it for me. It has no choice, right? So these are some things we look for. What areas are we good at? What areas are we not? So let's go ahead and move forward to the force production, because this kind of takes us back with the proper form, why some people who can't keep the proper form need to stick to resistance bands, and why some bands are good for some workouts and not for others. So bands, when we're talking about force production, bands have a constant growth in the force production. What I mean by that is, by the time you get to the end of your lift, let's say you're doing a front raise or a lateral raise, by the time you get to the top of your lift, you are at 100% maximum. Whereas, so that's a straight linear constant, right? Constant growth. It's a constant build in the tension. As you lengthen the muscle fiber away from the body, lengthen the muscle fiber away from the body, it's building the tension. The more you're pulling that here, it's building the tension, okay? The more you do the exercise. Now, with weights, it's a little bit different. Weights is a consistent force. So whatever weight you're putting on is a consistent force. But here's the thing with consistent force. Our muscle, or our force production of our muscle is very weak at the bottom of our lift. Very strong in the middle, and also weak again at the top. So it's very hard for somebody who's not used to lifting weights, a newbie or an elderly who can't control the weights, to get the most out of their workout, because we need to maximize this part right here, the most production. In order to do that, in order to provide all that stimulus to that muscle and overload it and keep that tension, is to really know how to properly target that muscle and properly control it and properly work it and know the exact movement. So this takes a little bit more of an experienced lifter, maybe someone who's had some coaching, maybe someone who's had a background in science, but it's, you really have to know what you're doing so you don't hurt yourself and so you can provide the most growth for your muscles, right? Now, let's bring the bands back to here. Good for some, not for others. Now, as I was saying before, now we know why it's a little bit harder for people to do weights. But with the resistance bands, I want to get a resistance band for you. I'm going to get one. Totally unprepared for that. I completely thought I had one around closer to me, but it's all right. We got the band. So, let's just say I'm doing a lateral raise. My force production, as I said before, is a constant. So it gets harder the more we go. So as I go, I'm starting out about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now I can't even lift, and it might even be more than 30 pounds. I'm just saying, as we go up, it could start at 5, 10, 15 pounds. But by the time I get to the top, as you saw, I didn't even make it to the top because it's so hard. It's probably like, 50 pounds up here. And that's way too much for a lateral raise, maybe even more poundage. I think this one's actually 100 pounds. So that means that by the time I'm halfway through this, I'm already at 50 pounds, and I can't do that. So, but at the same time, a workout that's good with it is a bicep curl. So you got your biceps out in front. As soon as I start the workout, the production's going, it stays constant, the force production stays constant. I'm still producing force to those biceps, and then I'm going to produce more force on the way back down. Such a burn. You get such tension the whole time. And it's really good, like I said, for some workouts like that. So you got to know what you're doing. You got to know what workout you're trying to do. And really, now you can kind of get a little understanding of the difference between weights and a resistance band. If anybody has any questions on this, please let me know. It's not rocket science, guys. The bands will help you if your goal is to rehab, if you're just starting out, if you need something to control, a little accessory muscle you're trying to work on to get stronger. Maybe your shoulders aren't very mobile. Maybe your hips aren't very mobile. There's so many things we can do with it. So know what your goal is, and then design your workout based off of these goals. So if you're an experienced lifter and you're looking to get stronger, you're looking to build muscle, you're definitely going to be in the weights portion, right? And if you're just starting out and you're not really sure what to do, and everything over my head just kind of, any presses or anything feel really weird, start with the bands, okay? Know what you're doing, know what your goal is, and go attack that goal. Like I said, if you have any questions about this, I have no problem answering them. Just leave them in the comment section below. If you have any videos you want to see in the future, please let me know. If you want to contact me, come in, check out what the facility's about. We do all types of training here: sports performance, strength training, strength and conditioning, injury rehab. Okay, we do so many things here. Whatever your goal is, we will help you get there. My name is Ronnie Petito with Petito's Performance Training Center. Until next time.